Mayor, I think honestly you were a little out of line when you bring up his Councilman St. Paul's employment by anybody. I mean, nobody's bringing up your employment by Congresswoman Nita Lowey. It's not that's irrelevant to the discussion here, who he works for. And I think that we should, focus on what we're talking about here. It's about the IDA. It's about your position on it. It's about Councilman St. Paul's position. And, while we may disagree, we should be respectful of each other's position. And I think that, we sort of lost touch with that. And I think it's important that we focus back on the issues here and not about where people are employed or other issues that really have no relevance of what we're discussing.
I believe, respectful of those who demonstrate respect for others. And one thing I don't think I can be fairly accused of is a lack of patience or a lack of fairness in the way I conduct these meetings. And when I do lose my temper, which is quite rarely, I think it's because of an unusual set of circumstances that may warrant a stronger response. But I appreciate the point that you're making, and I certainly do agree that we all have a responsibility to conduct our discussions in a way that is civil and respectful to each other. But it's a two-way street, as I know you agree, Council Member. And all of us have to accept that kind of code of conduct if we're going to work together on a bipartisan basis and work through disagreements in a way that honors our obligations. Councilmember Trangucci?
Well, I'll say what I want to say.
Okay.
There was an issue I had that I think we should consider in executive session prior to this presentation. I don't want to say it and not be...
Have you consulted with the Corporation Counsel or
No,
City
no.
Manager before this moment?
Not yet.
I would suggest it might have been helpful for you to do that before springing on us in this...
I wouldn't call it springing. I just thought about it. I thought we had a little break before then.
term I would use. We do not entertain comments from the public at this time. We have public hearings once a month. There is no public hearing tonight.
Big part of this project. And that's all I have to say.
Since I still have the floor.
Do you?
Yeah.
Councilmember Tarantino has been waiting quite a while.
But I did
I'll yield
yield
back
to
to
Councilman.
Richard.
Councilmember Tarantino has no objection. I'll go back to you.
How can you have an objection, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I mean,
Thank you, Councilman Terrence.
I do think we want to be respectful of the time that each of us want to spend asking questions.
We can make motions to limit the time, but there's
Maybe
rules
we
for
should.
that.
Go ahead.
That's up to you. So, and for those reasons, I would ask that we table this motion. Table this. Huh?
There's no motion right
Well, I'll make a motion to table this.
now. To table what? That's the motion.
You haven't gotten to the resolution.
I'm making the motion
To table what?
to table this.
We're having a discussion right now.
We haven't gotten
I
to
can.
that yet.
We have to wait till we get to the resolution.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We're not on it. That's what we.
I just want to clarify one thing you said. It's not Forest City that's determining how the money's being spent. It would be the city.
I know.
And we wouldn't be expending it by the first meeting in March. People want to weigh in on that. They have ample opportunity to do so.
I don't think waiting 3 weeks is going to hurt for this. But you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. This is just to discuss that. Thank you, guys.
Councilmember Tarantino?
We'll have a chance to vote.
Councilmember Tarantino?
You finished?
I see the mayor was very quick to cut me off, but I am finished. Thank
Okay.
you.
Quick.
No, I have a question for the commissioner,
Councilman St. Paul.
Well, as I said earlier, I would actually like to table this motion, and I'm not sure if that motion is out of place when there is already a motion on the floor existing. I have to check Robert rules, but I don't know
I think you need action on this motion.
first. Okay. There are certain motions that you can offer.
I think you should move to table before we voted.
Well, I did. Well, he should have recognized that, actually. So, because I did make that, and then we weren't on the resolution. So
We're in the middle of a vote.
Doesn't
Can we
matter,
not
but
please
it's
get
procedure.
embroiled in parliamentary procedure?
It's
There's a
pro-
substantive question before us. If you are uncomfortable with the timing or content of the vote, you can vote no on it.
It's a point of order, Mayor. There was you do know that you should have recognized me for my motion prior to this, and thank you, Councilman Patel, for saying that.
Well, I think it's a point of order. I think you should have made the motion to table before the vote, after the second, as
But
opposed to the vote starting. So I think you're out of order and seeking
No, I
to
couldn't.
table.
I made the motion when we were in discussion. When he moved, after discussion, he closed discussion on this, he immediately moved to put the motion forward. And basically subverted my motion to table this. So that point of order, we should vote on my motion first, and then get to this motion on voting for the MOU. However, Mr. Mayor, as the chair, you can overrule me, and I can ask for.
I have nothing further to add on this subject, Rich.
Well, then my motion should stand. Then. So we should vote on my motion.
No.
Unless you have to make
Corporation Counsel.
You have to make a decision. Sure.
Corporation Counsel, what is your judgment with respect to parliamentary procedure? As I recall, no motion was made by the council member after consideration of this item began. Am I correct? He indicated an intention to make a motion during our discussion.
Making the motion right now is inappropriate, but he did try to make the motion before.
Made the motion prior to consideration of this item, correct? And
Yes.
if we're going to be sticklers about parliamentary procedure, the motion must be made after the item is brought up. Is that correct?
You immediately went to a motion. You didn't bring the item up.
interrupted me then.
You-
If
I would have the
didn't-
point of order. I would have a point of order.
If I didn't
first.
think you were playing games with this council member,
You don't want to go there.
then I might have a different attitude. If you want to make a motion to overrule my decision, you may do so right now.
Are you making a decision?
Yes, I'm making a decision.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to overrule the
Is
chair's
there a
decision.
second?
A second.
Second by Councilmember Tarantino. Does that require a majority vote or two-thirds vote?
It's just a majority.
Majority vote. All in favor of, I believe the proper procedure is to sustain the decision of the chair.
Correct.
Therefore, if you vote yes, you are supporting the position I have taken, which is that a vote on the resolution ought to proceed. If you vote no, you are supporting the position of Councilmember St. Paul, which is that we must first consider a motion to table the resolution. All in favor of sustaining the decision of the chair, please raise your hands. All opposed? The motion fails. We continue with a vote on item 5.1. The vote is to you, Councilmember St. Paul.
Thank you. Just a brief comment. My thoughts were, as you know, to simply delay this motion for the sake of democracy. Here we've, as the council has set up citizens to be heard, where we allow our citizens to discuss any topic every month. That follows along the principle of democracy, one that makes this country so great, one that we were quickly reminded of how important it is when we saw the abdication almost of the Egyptian president. I never want to be in a position where I'm balancing the principles of democracy versus $100,000, as one of my colleagues brought to our attention. Of course, the principle of democracy far outweighs receiving $100,000. That's why I support having the citizens to have an opportunity to hear and comment about what's happening with this MOU. This is a major decision. This is a major project. With that being said, I vote no.
Councilman Fertel.
Well, exercising my role as a duly elected member of the democratic government and fulfilling our democracy, I vote yes.
I'm not saying anything I haven't said 4 or 5 times, every time this issue's been brought up. I don't think you've said anything that you haven't said 4 or 5 times every time this issue is brought up. I respect that you have a different view. You're entitled to it, as we all are. But I don't enjoy perpetually rehashing the same debate, and I don't see any great purpose in doing so. So I've said my piece.
For what? I've been after this issue for over 2 years.
That's precisely the point. May I say something?
I've been talking about
May I
this
say
because
something?
I think it's the right thing to do.
May I say something, please?
When I finish.
You know, but I've been waiting quite patiently, Rich, and if I were clocking the amount of time that each council member has spent this meeting, I would guess that you've spoken more than everyone else combined. And if you don't mind, I'd like the courtesy of being able to say something.
Sure, but
This
don't
is-
interrupt me.
This is, I believe, the 4th or 5th time that this precise issue has been brought before the council for what seems to me a replay of the exact conversations we've had on each prior occasion. As I said before, you're entitled to your view. I happen to think you're wrong about the impact that this would have on our community. You're entitled to disagree with me. But to bring back the same subject over and over and over again strikes me as disrespectful to the time and attention of your colleagues around this table and abuse of your rights as a council member. We have serious business to do. We have enormous challenges that are confronting us. If you want to know about the threat of politicizing important judgments, look no further than this meeting we're having tonight, in which multiple discussions have descended into this kind of bitter recrimination. I've never experienced anything like this in all the time I've been on City Council. It is almost invariably stimulated by things that you've put on the table and the way you have put them on the table. It's very objectionable to me. I have to say it. Now, I realize you worked for Senator Espada for quite some time, the man who single-handedly transformed the state Senate into a circus. I presume you admire those techniques. I don't want them visited upon this body. I don't think we need that in New Rochelle.
Wow, you're seriously out of line.
Well, I think your conduct
You are not
tonight,
acting like a leader right now.
your conduct
This
tonight,
is disgraceful.
your conduct tonight has
Disgraceful.
been out of line, Mr. St. Paul.
My
This
exercising
issue-
my right?
This issue,
I want to let you finish.
this issue,
One of us has to be
as I said
the better
before,
person.
this issue has been raised repeatedly and disposed of by the City Council. I don't think we need to spend time having the same conversation yet again. It detracts attention, energy, time, and resources from the real choices that are before us. That's my final word on the subject. You can say whatever you want, and I won't reply.
Let me just say one thing. No,
Let me just respond real quick, please. You know, to say that this is not serious business, to say that having the final say on the taxes, how the taxes are distributed and accounted for in this city is not serious business, I think you're in the wrong line of work. And also, I want to ask you this question. Do you know how many times parts of the Civil Rights Act of '64 were brought up before it was finally passed? Do you know how many times the parts of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 were brought up before they were passed?
If you ask me a question, my response to you would be that to compare your antics this evening, as you did before, to the protesters in Cairo and to the effort towards civil rights and the Voting Rights Act is absurd and insulting.
And certainly colleagues back in Congress during that time, remember the time range, Mr. Mayor, they certainly thought that was absurd too. But it was very important legislation that did pass. And here we are talking about taxes, a very fundamental issue in this day and age where people don't have money, where we're coming out of recession, and this is not serious business. I will bring this piece of legislation up 100 times. If you don't like it, that's fine. If my constituents don't like it, there's an election in November. And they can have their say then. But until that time, as long as I'm the city council person, I will bring this legislation up as many times as it takes to do the right thing.
Well, if you intend to subject the council to the same debate over and over again with a foregone conclusion, then we'll have to take a good examination at the rules under which the body operates to ensure that we can actually do our business, rather than being obstructed by an individual who apparently has a complete lack of respect for the matters that are before us.
If you want to curtail the rights of the council members, then you certainly do that.
We have one more item before us tonight.
I hope that you would do that.
We have an executive session item that is before us.
You can't close the floor.
I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Councilmember Tarantino? You go ahead, then Councilmember Tarantino.
I feel inclined to say something about what's going on here tonight. You know, Mayor, I think, honestly, you were a little out of line when you bring up his Councilman St. Paul's employment by anybody. I mean, nobody's bringing up your employment by Congresswoman Nita Lowey. That's irrelevant to the discussion here, who he works for. And I think that we should, focus on what we're talking about here. It's about the IDA. It's about your position on it. It's about Councilman St. Paul's position. And, while we may disagree, we should be respectful of each other's position. And I think that, we sort of lost touch with that. And I think it's important that we focus back on the issues here and not about where people are employed or other issues that really have no relevance of what we're discussing.